Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're setting the stage for some truly diploma-level strategic management. If you've been studying business, you probably know the basics, right? Things like internal analysis and cost leadership. But here's the thing. In today's hyper-connected, fast-paced world, traditional internal growth simply isn't enough anymore. You literally can't just build a fortress and hope to survive. You have to reach out, you have to cross borders, and you absolutely must constantly reinvent yourself. And that's exactly what we're going to master today.
So here is our syllabus for today's explainer. We're going to conquer 3 interconnected pillars of advanced strategy. We'll cover the new strategic reality, forming strategic alliances, competing on a global scale, the innovation engine, integrating the strategic triad, and finally, strategy with responsibility. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The new strategic reality.
So why is traditional strategy evolving so rapidly? Well, think about this modern landscape for a second. The days of a single giant corporation doing absolutely everything from scratch, yeah, those are completely over. No company holds all the cards today. It's just impossible. Innovation cycles are remarkably shorter now. I mean, what was cutting edge 6 months ago is practically standard today. When you add in rapid technological disruption, differing customer preferences across cultures, and the fact that competition is now coming from massive global digital ecosystems, it becomes pretty clear, doesn't it? Survival today mandates a much more advanced, highly collaborative approach. Moving right along to Section 2, forming strategic alliances. That brings us perfectly to our first major pillar. In this crazy new reality we just talked about, collaboration is often vastly more powerful than trying to compete all by yourself. But let's break down this piece of jargon real quick. A strategic alliance is basically an arrangement where independent organizations work together to pursue a shared goal. But notice the key phrase here, maintaining their legal independence. So this isn't a merger. It's all about sharing resources, knowledge, and risks, but without the permanence and, honestly, the massive structural headache of fully combining 2 companies. It gives you incredible flexibility. Let me tell you a quick story that brilliantly illustrates exactly why alliances matter. Imagine a wildly successful smartphone company, and suddenly they decide they want to build electric vehicles. Huge leap, right? The problem is they don't know the first thing about building car batteries or navigating European auto distribution. So instead of spending billions of dollars and decades trying to learn, they form an ecosystem strategy. They partner up. They team up with a battery tech company, an AI firm for self-driving software, a local European distributor, a cloud provider, and a chip manufacturer. This whole network dramatically accelerates their speed to market and grants them immediate access to vital new technology.
Of course, not all alliances are structured the exact same way. You basically have 2 main flavors here. First, non-equity alliances. Think of these as contract-based, like a simple licensing or supplier agreement. They're highly flexible, lower commitment, but the trade-off is that you have less control. On the flip side, we have equity alliances. This is where one firm might actually take a minority ownership stake in the other. This creates a much stronger strategic bond, it aligns your incentives beautifully, but beware, it also brings some highly complex governance into the mix. That brings us to Section 3, competing on a global scale.
So the alliances we just discussed, they very often pave the way for something much bigger. The crucial point here is understanding what a global strategy actually is. It's simply an integrated approach used by a firm to compete internationally. But why does this matter so much? Well, your domestic market might be completely saturated. Going global diversifies your revenue streams, gives you access to incredibly large new markets, and helps you achieve those critical economies of scale that ultimately lower your overall costs. Let's ground this theory in reality with a real-world Canadian small business example. Say you're running a super successful organic maple syrup and specialty foods company based right in Quebec. You want to expand into the Asian market, which is huge, but you don't really understand the local supply chains or the specific cultural flavor preferences over there. So what do? By forming an alliance with a regional Asian distributor, our Canadian business relies on their local partner to navigate those cultural expectations, adjust the product packaging to fit the market, and handle all the complex import regulations. It drastically mitigates risk and pretty much ensures a successful market entry. Let's see how this all builds into our theoretical frameworks. I'll be your guide through Figure 1 here, the Global Strategy Matrix. Notice the core tension we're dissecting. It's all about global integration versus local responsiveness. If you have low pressure to adapt locally, you might just use a basic international strategy, literally just shipping your home product outward as is. Now, if local tastes vary wildly, you'd pivot to a multi-domestic strategy,
decentralizing and adapting country by country. If cost efficiency is absolutely everything to your business, you go global and standardize everything. And the Holy Grail? That's the transnational strategy, where you somehow balance global efficiency with deep local adaptation. It's incredibly difficult to pull off, but highly rewarding if you do. And that really brings us to the ultimate strategic challenge for managers today, finding that perfect, delicate balance. Do you push hard for global standardization to enjoy lower costs, brand consistency, and simpler operations? Or do you lean heavily into local adaptation to ensure a much better cultural fit and higher customer relevance? Usually, the right answer requires a really thoughtful mix of both, depending entirely on your specific industry and product. All right, on to Section 4, the innovation engine. So, you've got your alliances in place, and you are expanding globally. Great! But intense global competition absolutely forces organizations to continuously innovate just to stay relevant. I want to clarify this definition for a second, because a lot of people think innovation is just about launching cool new gadgets. It's not. It is the successful development and application of new products, sure, but also services, processes, and even entire business models. True innovation is a comprehensive, long-term organizational strategy that fundamentally creates value. Now, what's really fascinating is the stark contrast between the two main types of innovation. On one hand, we have incremental innovation. This is your steady, safer reality of small, continuous updates. Think about making a smartphone battery last 10% longer every year. Lower risk, lower cost. On the other hand, we've got radical innovation. This is the high-stakes, completely transformative gamble. Think of how streaming services totally wiped out physical DVD rentals. It requires massive investment and comes with sky-high uncertainty, but man, the payoff can literally redefine an entire industry. But how do companies actually do it? Walk with me through Figure 2, the innovation process. Look, real innovation isn't just some random eureka moment you have in the shower. It is a highly disciplined 6-step process. First, you generate ideas, then systematically screen and select the viable ones. From there, you move into careful development, you rigorously test those ideas, eventually commercialize the product, and finally, and honestly, most importantly, you learn from the market and scale it up. Which brings us to Section 5, integrating the strategic triad. We've covered some incredible ground today, but here is the secret. These 3 pillars, alliances, global expansion, and innovation, they don't exist in silos. Look at how a modern multinational actually weaves all these concepts together into one highly coherent, advanced strategic system. For example, they might form a joint venture to get into a new foreign market. At the exact same time, they're using a global strategy to coordinate their manufacturing efficiently across borders. Simultaneously, they are building innovation alliances with AI firms to improve their products, all while using global R&D centers to keep fresh ideas flowing. It's like a giant, beautiful, complex puzzle that requires exceptional managerial capability to pull off. And finally, Section 6, strategy with responsibility. Before we finish up, we absolutely have to talk about something that goes hand in hand with executing an advanced global strategy, and that's the real-world responsibility it takes to do this right. As managers, we're making decisions that affect actual communities. When you set up alliances, it's just good business practice to be fair and completely transparent. When you expand across borders, you really have to pay close attention to labor standards, human rights, and your environmental footprint in those new supply chains. And with all this rapid tech innovation, we've got to keep a sharp eye out for things like AI bias, data privacy, and how automation shifts everyday jobs. This isn't just about checking a compliance box, folks. It's about recognizing that a truly great strategy naturally blends strong profitability with solid, unwavering responsibility. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. How will your organization integrate profitability with global responsibility? It really is the ultimate challenge for the strategic leaders of tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this explainer helpful, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more diploma-level deep dives. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.